Good evening, folks. Welcome to the Ask the Expert show, one of our shows hosted by none other than Couples Academy. And if you're tuning in for the first time, Who Are We? Couples Academy is a private practice that my wife and I, Danielle, we established a number of years ago because we wanted to help people take their relationships to the next level. We work with couples in crisis, those on the verge of divorce, those impacted by an affair, who are trying to figure out how to restore their relationship and get things back on track. And so we do this daily show every evening at 9 p.m. Thursday, to answer your questions, your pressing questions that you need clarity on to get you through your day, through your week, through your life, through your relationship. And so what we want you to do is post that question now. We're going to try to stay to 30 minutes to remain integral and to honor your time. But before we get started, listen, guys, I have a couple announcements. They're going to be starting next week. You know, we're in this Marriage in the Bible series, and we've been pulling scriptures and really, rather than just reading scripture after scripture after scripture, kind of unpacking it and walking you through how to live it out. And so based upon conversations and based upon requests, at the top of the week, we're going to find a scripture for it. But we're going to be dealing with this: how to cope with the aftermath of an affair, which is very, very critical. Actually, that's part 2, but part 1 is how to break the cycle of infidelity. Now that right there, folks, is something that you want to tune in for. How to break the cycle of infidelity. And this is particularly for those who have been repeat offenders. Why do I keep going back? Why do I keep doing the things that I do? How do I stop this cycle? There's an internal pattern that exists within me that needs to be just destroyed. I don't know how to do it. And so what we're going to do is unpack that in a comprehensive way. But tonight, it's all about you and your questions. We got a couple we're going to start with, and then we're going to go to you. Question number 1 from Navita Harris. Do men over 45 go through midlife crisis and try to seek younger women to see if they still got it? And the answer is many do. There is something called the midlife crisis affair. What happens is it happens between the age of 45 and 65, where all of a sudden men begin to really reevaluate their life. They have feelings of regret. They have feelings of loss. They have feelings of, have I missed out? What if I chose a different course of action? What if I made different decisions? And so in that process, sometimes they make transformational decisions that may not be good ones, but they make these major shifts in their life. They begin to pursue what they never really experienced. Did I make the right decision in who I chose as a mate? And so they may dive into an affair. And so what they're really battling with is their youth. I want to read something to you that really impacts what a midlife crisis affair is. It says a midlife crisis is described as a psychological crisis which is often caused by events that highlight aging, the possible lack of accomplishment, and the consequent reckoning of one's own mortality. Often among 45 to 65 years old, the intense feelings often result in remorse, anxiety, depression, loss, and everything else. And so many people want to get back to their youthfulness, and so they do things that make them feel young again. A new passion, a new love, a new romance, a new fling, the new car, the new whatever it may be. And in that, not only do they lose themselves, but in essence, they lose their marriage. So yes, it is a thing. And what we're going to do, we're probably going to do a very deep dive, comprehensive unpacking of the marriage crisis. The midlife crisis affair, because it's something that many people experience. And here's the reality, guys. When an affair happens, there's never just one reason. There's an incalculable number of reasons and influences and contributing factors. This is a major one for those in that age range. And so I think that it's worthy that we really unpack that in our morning show for an entire week. So get ready for that. It's coming. Second question is from Sean. How do you prepare for the 1-year anniversary of the affair coming to light? Yeah, that's a great question. Actually, I was literally in a session today with a couple, and the very same question came up because this weekend they're going out of town. Matter of fact, 2 couples One couple is going out of town. One in the next week or so is going out of town. And this month, this week, represents the 1 year anniversary where they discovered it. And on top of that, the affair was in the very place that they're going to. Ugh. Could you imagine the trigger? And so, in a general sense, the reason why it says that many people have said, and statistics show that it takes upwards of 2 years to heal from an affair, is because you're faced with that 1 year anniversary. And in that first year, all you're doing is thinking about what happened the year prior. Think about 9/11. It was a very painful experience for all of us, not just in the United States, but for many of us around the world that is somehow connected to the United States or people that we love here. You know, personally, we had people that we knew that were in the building as the plane hit, that were racing out of it. I mean, thank God we weren't there, but we felt it because there were other people who were there in that process. And so as a consequence, people were traumatized. They were glued to the television, glued to the news, just glued to everything. And they couldn't take their mind off of it. They were obsessed with what was happening, what was going on. And so a year later, we're reminded to do what? To celebrate it all over again. Good evening, Jeff. Glad you're there. We're celebrating this thing all over again. I think there's a little bit of echo. I just turned my echo off and let me try something else. And so that next year, here we go. We're reliving, rethinking, and we're back to the place where we were when it first occurred. So what do? What we have to do as we're approaching the month, a day, a week, the anniversary of the affair, we have to create a brand new experience. We don't want to think, meditate, focus on what happened a year ago. We want to create a brand new experience together as a couple so that year two, we're thinking about the anniversary date, not the original incident where we discovered it. See what's happening? Because the pattern would suggest we have to memorialize the original thing. We don't want to do that. We want to repurpose, redefine that date, that season of your life to create something healthy, to create something new, so we have good memories to think about. That's what we want to do. So if you're in that place where you're approaching your 1 year anniversary, be intentional to create an amazing experience that you can feel, that you can enjoy, and live on the memory of that and not the memory of that pain. So hopefully that answers your question. Glad that Jeff just jumped in. We're going to read some more questions and get him to chime in. Here we have Jessica. Let me put my glasses on. Okay. How can understand my husband, he cheat on me? He doesn't want me to get help. He doesn't want to watch videos or get help with the how can I trust of him? Okay. I think I get what you're saying. You need help because he cheated on you but doesn't want to get the help. Well, one thing I will say is this. If your spouse is not ready to get the help, get the help for yourself. Initiate the process on your own. Because what we have found is that oftentimes people who initiate a process and get what they need for them, it will often transition into couple sessions. For whatever reason, that husband, that wife may not be ready at the moment, but as they see the change and transformation within you, now they're curious. What's happening in those sessions? This is something different. Maybe I should join. Or I'm curious. Is this person telling my spouse what they need to hear? I'm curious. So what we've done is we've started the individual sessions and then we encourage the spouse to invite their partner into the meeting. Now, I will tell you what just happened. There's an individual I'm working with on a weekly basis. His wife is not interested. I said, listen, no problem. Why don't you just invite her into your one-on-one session with me? She doesn't have to say anything. She doesn't have to do anything. I just want her to get comfortable seeing what we're talking about so it creates a familiarity in her heart and her mind so it will lead to the possibility of her getting engaged. In the process, week 2, she joins again. She doesn't want to say anything. Her face is not even on the screen. She is totally opposed to being involved. But because I knew how to weave her in, now I got her talking. Now she's weighing in. Now she's asking questions. And boom, now she's doing her own individual sessions with one of the practitioners on our team. And the next step is to get them into couples counseling. So don't be too moved, too dismayed, too disappointed if your spouse is not on board. It can easily transition into couples counseling. Jeff, you want to weigh in on that and say anything?
No, I was going to agree 1,000%. I mean, the process of just getting moving in a direction is going to make all the change in the world. There's also something, especially with um, men and their curiosity on things, the way that we perceive things in the world, typically, not always true, but typically, is that if you begin this process yourself, they're going to become curious. What are they talking about? And that curiosity can lead to a conversation.
Mm.
Period.
Very true. And so what we're telling you guys is get started. Stop waiting. And here's another thing, Jeff, that I hear from a lot of people. When their spouse eventually does decide, then, I mean, for weeks and for months, they've been begging and pleading, please come, please show up, please let's go to this intensive, please, please, please. And then once they finally do it, now they're frustrated that they're not fully 100% on board. And I don't want to go through the mud. And I'm like, Joker, take your yes and run. I don't care that your spouse is not fully invested. I don't care if they question or don't even believe in the process. Just get them there. The goal is to get them to show up and let us take care of everything else. Jeff, Lakeisha, Danielle, myself, many of our other practitioners have had so many situations where someone came resistant, someone came shut down, someone came with ears not open, eyes not willing to see. And in that process, there was something said, something done that made a shift and a change in that person. Then all of a sudden, they start opening up. All of a sudden, you get past all the hurt and the pain to the real issue and the real desire. And oftentimes, those who put on that front, that hardcore front, that uncompromising front, they want what you want, but they're just scared and they don't know what to do.
That's it. Storming off, leaving the session, walking off for
Mm-hmm.
hours, sitting by themselves outside, trying to get the attention. And then when someone actually does go sit down with them and give them the attention and let them just open up, it takes a little while, but
It
the
happens.
doors start to open. It happens.
It happens. Let's go to the next question. If I am now on a spiritual journey with Jesus that my husband can't fully understand because he isn't putting forth effort at evolving as much as I am, how can he see I'm not the same person I was?
Mm.
I got one word for you, and then Jeff, you can weigh in. Consistency. Consistency is the key to your success. So if it's new, I can't trust it. Yeah, I see you into that Jesus thing. Okay. Yeah, are you reading your word? Are you going to church? Yeah, but the only reason why you're doing it is because, right? So all I know is I see some demonstration that I don't really believe in. I need to see how real this thing is. So months go by. Oh man, she's still engaged. She's showing up different. She's talking different, walking different. She responds different. Man, maybe this Jesus thing is working. It's the consistency of your effort. There was something powerful said, and I think Jeff, you can weigh in on it because I think we experienced this in Warrior. I think it was from Warrior when they said something like, "There has to be a season where you're making one-way transactional deposits with no expectation of nothing in return." Can you
Absolutely.
unpack that? Because I think that's what this system needs to hear.
Yeah. So the whole, well, first, let me just touch on this. There is this new convert syndrome that wants to drag everyone with them immediately without having the proof show up in your life.
Mm,
And no one is going to listen to you until you show, like he said, consistency and results. Even the Bible says you will know them by their fruit. So that's key. It's like, when we become more serious about our faith, we want to just like go out and drag everyone with us before we've actually learned the tenets and the principles and put them into action. And so you've got to be the one that lets your light so shine before the world that they see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. You've got to be the light first. You can't just say, "I'm going to be the light," or guess what I'm doing? I'm going to yoga class. I need you to come to yoga class. They want to see the transformation first. That doesn't mean that you're not going to keep those doors open and constantly be trying to be there as a principal guide. But what Hassani said is absolutely true, and it was at Warrior, that when you start putting deposits into people's lives, you have to understand that people have emotional and financial bank accounts. And so if you go to make a withdrawal from a bank account that doesn't have money in it, you're going to get rejected. And
mm,
if you write a check on that, it might cover that check, but you're going to pay fees. And so if you haven't made deposits on a daily basis, you won't gain enough money in there to be able to pull out as much as you want. And so a lot of times when we make new changes in our lives, we want people to do things with us, but we haven't built up the bank account of trust that it takes for people to give you that return. So what you do is you deposit into their lives blessings and words of encouragement and showing them how much you care and how much you love them in different ways without the expectation. It's a gift you're going to give yourself. All right. And then when that actually has an opportunity to manifest itself, when you go to ask for that favor, there will be something in the bank account. But if we've drained that bank account, we can't expect to pull something out right away just because we've changed our behaviors.
I just love being around smart people. They make me look good. Jeff, you make me look good. I appreciate you because I couldn't, if I had 1,000 tongues, I couldn't articulate it as well as you just did. So thank you, because that was powerful. Let's go to the next point. All right, spouse's ex affair resurfaced 10 years later and sent Facebook friendship. I saw the text and he was checking to see if he could get a foothold. She didn't engage, but she didn't shut this down. Therefore, it's been small talk. There can never be a friendship. Now, you don't realize how confirming this statement is because there's someone listening right now who's going through the exact same thing. And they're watching and they needed to see this because guess what? They're not alone. And so the reality is, you have to be completely uncompromising when it comes to engaging with any person from your past who you have had any type of emotional or sexual relationship with, or if you haven't, if there's ever been a thought, a desire, but for whatever reason, wrong time, wrong place, wrong season, it never manifested, but now we're somehow rekindling. If that person represents a season in your life when you were not integral, you can't go back there. Because think of it like this. Let's just say there's an infidelity, which is a betrayal. It's at a 10, right? It's at a 10. But then there's a reconnection just through a simple small talk conversation through social media. Guess what, guys? It's a betrayal. That may be considered at a 3 because it's not like we're having sex. It's not like we could do anything wrong. It was just small talk. It was just a quick connection, but it is still a betrayal. And when someone has gone through a major betrayal, they have a hypersensitivity to anything that you may do that reminds them of something that happened in the past. And so this is worthy of a conversation to set clear expectations for what interaction should be like with previous members of the opposite sex that you've been involved with or future members of the opposite sex that you haven't even met yet. You want to build a wall of protection around your marriage and have a clear understanding that for us, our code of conduct, our code of ethics suggests thus and so when it comes to other people. Otherwise, it's going to create trust issues and create emotional disconnect and pull you back into a dark place and a pit that you do not want to be in. And the person has to be sensitive to what their spouse is going through if they feel some type of way. It's just some innocent conversation. Maybe for you it's innocent, but what impact does that have on your partner and what impact does that have on the relationship, Jeff?
Yeah, so I mean, at the end of the day, you've got to shut that down. You have to set up that governance body. Like you're always talking about having the governmental part of the marriage, which is just the business of the marriage. And, what boundaries are set. If you don't have those boundaries clearly defined, you have to realize people are raised differently with different expectations. Me and my wife had a completely different understanding, culturally and otherwise, of what the boundaries were. And for her, it was if they're not family, and they're not married and you're able to hang out as couples, then she didn't want anything to do with it. And she didn't want me speaking to, whereas I grew up with a bunch of women friends. And so I had to relearn the game for my marriage. And it worked. When I was willing to actually go her way, and it actually works. It works really, really well. It kept me from a lot of stupid distractions. But you have to set that agreement up because if you don't go in having those expectations clearly defined, and you're opening yourself up to all kinds of possibilities.
Absolutely. Let me go to another point that's being made by C Bully. Being that he's come back and now has blocked her and me, I'm serving him papers for alienation of affection because it's opened us the wounds again, and now I'm depressed and much more. So let me just say something. Slow down, pause, never make permanent decisions based upon temporary situations. All things are subject to change. Before you go straight to divorce, really ask yourself, is that what you really want? Or are you doing it out of desperation because you don't know what else to do? You don't know what else will work. What I've discovered is that overwhelmingly, people who come here for intensives, last chance weekends, one on one sessions, papers have been filed, but they're coming to counseling. There's a date on the table. We're 3 weeks away, yet they show up for sessions. Why? Because something in them still says maybe there's a possibility that things can get better and we could turn this thing around. And when the truth comes out about why they filed in the first place, they didn't know what else to do. They didn't know what would work. They lost all hope in the possibility. They did not know the how to turn the ship around. Well, thank God we are the how. When you come through us and we take you through a process, we're giving you the how. So if you're tempted to file, if you have filed, I would still say it's not over till it's over, and still be willing to potentially go through a process to see if the relationship could be restored and things could be back on track. I'm certainly not minimizing what he's doing. The fact that he blocked you, that's a problem. So not only did he block her, he blocked you, which does speak to an issue. But that is something that we could talk through and work through. And I wouldn't want you to make such a major decision on your own.
And alienation of affection, I know that's written in the law, but enforceability is really, really hard. I work with a lot of lawyers, and that's a tough one. And when you start, I just want you to know that when you start making things a legal process, there is only one absolute winner: the lawyer.
There it is. Wait a minute. Say that again.
When you make things a legal process as your primary way of getting things done, there's one winner and one winner alone. One absolute winner is going to win every time. That's the lawyer. So there are a lot of unethical lawyers who will just file and file and file and file and file until your bank account is empty. So, like, if there's any other way, do that first.
Yeah, I totally agree. All right, another question, Keisha. How long should you wait after therapy to see the change? That's a legitimate question because some people go through a process and there is no change. What I would say is that you shouldn't have to wait after the therapy. You should be seeing the change throughout the process. Now, let me just be real technical and anal for a second. What makes our process different? The way that I'm going to articulate it, and I've shared this before. Counseling connects your present to your past. That's where you get insight. That's when you get revelation. That's when you get to understand why you are the way you are, why you do the things you do. Coaching connects your present to your future. That's where your steps, implementation, how to, strategy, methodology, the goal setting, the accomplishment, and the fulfillment of what it is you sought after to do. That's where that comes in. So therapy, which is designed to go into your past and ask you questions and pull things out and help you to come up with your own answer, may not be the best method. That's why so many people are not willing to necessarily just go to a licensed practitioner, but they're willing to go to a coach because a coach helps you through. Listen, Jeff, don't you get up every single morning at 4 o'clock and you work with a trainer who pulls things out of you? Now, is your trainer a therapist or a coach that pushes you to your greatness?
It's all about the coaching process, because you have to understand, and I have listened, the therapists have hats off for real issues or certain things that, like, the therapist is the absolute best way. But in all truth, when they're acting, and I know therapists that act both as therapists and as coaches, and they have to clearly define that when they do that. They have to sign a waiver. In fact, my daughter went through a bout of depression, and we worked with a therapist, a licensed therapist, but I asked her to be a coach, and we signed a waiver saying that we realized that she was not acting in a medical capacity. And the reason why I did that is because I wanted her to be able to give her advice. And I admired the person for what they had achieved in life and what they'd gone through. And I knew them personally. And that was the way. Now, therapists can't always give you advice. Typically, under state law, they're required under their practice to reflect, have you ask yourself questions, have you figure it out on your own for the most part. And they'll help you define and discover things about yourself, but typically you don't see them giving plans of action. There are some that do, but it's a very fine line when they and so a lot of them don't even bother crossing it.
Powerful point. Thank you for that comprehensive breakdown. That's very true. So you got to know where to go to get what it is that you need. If you don't go to the right one for what you're seeking, what you'll do is you'll begin to experience what we call counseling fatigue, where you're like, I went to a counselor for 3 months, that didn't work. And then we tried someone new and we went over there and that didn't work. And so, right now my spouse is just not into it. And I'm not sure if this process really works. And it's just like, listen, if I have a BMW and there's something wrong with my let's just say there's something wrong with the motor, right? The engine, right? Maybe whatever it is. You know what? Right down the street, there is a bike repair shop. And, fine, it's not a car repair shop, but I mean, they must know something, right? They fix bikes. They must be able to fix cars. So you're going to a bike repairman to fix your BMW. Are you going to get it fixed? No. Well, fine. That's extreme, Hassani. A bike repair shop, come on. Okay, well, go to your local mechanic. Go to your local mechanic who does basic things, who does not specialize in what you have under your hood. He will start knocking and looking and feeling things out. And yeah, it's your this, it's your that. And he does basic things to get you back on the road, but then that problem comes back again. Why? Because you did not want to go to the one who specialized in what it is that you needed. And this is why so many people get burnt out in the process and wind up throwing in the towel and calling it quits and just giving up because they're going to the wrong people looking for the right advice. Not that the people are wrong, they're right in their specialty, but you're going to the wrong place looking for the right thing.
And I want to take that a step further. So you have to realize that a lot of the people in the therapy world are intellectuals at best. And I say intellectuals at best is because they do have the knowledge, they do have the study, and they do have the time on book. But there's also a difference between even a therapist and a therapist who has a successful marriage. Okay? So they're happy in their marriage. They're still in their thing. And so the difference between discipline and intellect is the fact that you've actually been through the experience, not just learned or observed it. You're going to find that this is true for many things. When you read a book, there's a lot of people who've researched marriage and wealth and all these kinds of things, and they wrote about it. But if you look in their bank account, all their money came from the book, not from experience. And when you look at people who have successful marriages, Hassani will bring Danielle on there. My wife's a little shy, but one of these days I'm going to try to convince her to get on here. When you see people who travel the world, who are happy together, who still are chasing around and finding love after 20, after 30 years, regardless of therapist, coach, those are the people you want to be listening to because they've done it. They figured it out. They've been through all the bumps in the road. Okay. And so that's going to give you the power. Experience. You can study basketball. You can watch martial art films. That doesn't mean you know karate.
Jeff, I've written 14 books, and I guarantee you, if I got enough books and did enough research, I could write a book on how to build a shuttle that'll reach Mars.
Absolutely.
I could do it. I know how to do it. But trust and believe you would not want to read it. Because if you attempted to build the shuttle to fly into Mars, you would crash and wouldn't make it 2 inches off the ground if you did. You know,
I'm an avid researcher, and I could learn every single thing that there is and be able to recite and give a class on how to fly an airplane. But I've never flown a plane. Trust me, you do not want me flying your plane. And there's a lot of people out there you don't want flying your marriage.
and so the question is, the person that you're going to, do they bear the fruit? That's
Absolutely.
how you determine who you go to. What is your fruit? Well, tell me about your, like, if you're interviewing someone who's going to guide you through a process, and wait a minute, they're like, listen, they're not even married. Can I go to this person for advice? Or they are married and they're miserable. Do they qualify to speak into my life? Maybe they are 40 years younger than me and don't have experience. Should I be listening to them because they have a degree or a certification or letters at the end of their name? No. Do they bear the fruit? That's how you determine who you listen to.
That is absolutely it. Look, I had a close call on the side of a mountain. I was doing this hiking thing, this tough warrior week kind of thing. And my blood pressure was 240 over 140. They made me promise that I was going to go see a doctor when I went back because that's near death. They couldn't believe I was standing. The first doctor I went to was well overweight. And I asked him, are you on blood pressure medication? Do you have diabetes? He's like, yes, I do. And I was like, so how long have you been on the medication? He's like, for 15 years. And I looked at his results and I'm like, do I want his results? Yeah, he's a doctor. Yeah, he's qualified. I immediately got up out of that office, went and found me a different doctor. I wanted a doctor who exemplified what I wanted to become.
Pause. There it is, folks. I mean, what more do you need to hear? You know, the people you go to, the people you pay, the people you invest your money and your time and your effort into, do they bear the fruit? Do they have what you want? Do they represent your answer? Do they represent your solution? Who are they? Anybody who's on this team, Couples Academy's team, trust and believe. It's not just about what they know and not just about their education and their degrees. Oh, we best believe we get into their relationship because I want to know. How's your relationship going? What's going on in your backyard? What have you overcome? What have you been through? Because I need to know, because I'm putting these people into the lives of others that are desperate for an answer and are looking for hope and healing.
And this also applies when you're going over and talking to your neighbor about your marriage, your friend, your best bud. If their relationship doesn't exemplify something that you want, maybe you should keep that to yourself and talk to people who have been around a little longer, because you're just going to get bad advice. You'll feel better at the end of the conversation because misery loves company, but you're not going to get results.
We share our problems with people who share our problems.
Exactly.
And that's where we go wrong. I mean, we can go on and on and on, but hopefully somebody's getting a point on this. Let me go to this next question. What do I do? Affair was 5 years ago. Discovery was 4 months ago. We've been in counseling and therapy, even found a new church home and have been renewed in scripture and faith. Wife agreed to forgive, move forward and let it go. We were even baptized for the first time together just a few days ago. We were riding high, and then all of a sudden she's confused and doesn't know if she wants this. Let me say something. Now I got to start going first because I'm not. It's just like, listen. One of the greatest rappers in the world is Busta Rhymes. No other rapper ever wanted to come after Busta Rhymes. They might as well just pack up and go home because he just destroys the mic. And it's just like, what am I doing with my life? So in that analogy, let me go first before Jeff responds to this, because there's no point in coming back behind him. But what I will say is, it's a marathon, not a sprint. And I think oftentimes there is this fervor and passion, and there is this all-in approach that we take, and we're doing the work and we're showing up. And guess what? After 3 days, after 2 weeks, after a month, my spouse should all of a sudden become a believer and just be bought in and never have to think about the past. And we're only moving forward. And after all of this, after all of these changes, after all this transformation, now you want to reconsider? It's a marathon, not a sprint. I was talking to a couple. This is so powerful, guys. I want you to listen to this. So the spouse who was unfaithful is really feeling it. I mean, he's going through. The partner was able to quickly adjust. They dealt with what happened. They went through for a day. They woke up the next morning, picked themselves up, and went back to work and has been dealing with things. This was 5 months ago. Now, all of a sudden, the spouse says, I wonder if I don't know, threw myself back into life too quickly and didn't take enough time to grieve and process through what I was going through. So now, 5 months later, I'm starting to feel what most people would have felt from the beginning. And now it's causing panic and concern for my partner because all of a sudden it feels like we're slipping back. And this is what we would call a delayed reaction or delayed response to the recovery process. It's called delayed grieving. Think about a person who experiences death in their family, a close family member. And you know what? This person died, and you're the go to person, and you're planning the funeral, and you're making arrangements, and you're handling everything, and you're accommodating people, and you didn't take time to grieve. And people are like, are you okay? I'm good. I'm good. We just got to move on with life. And then, boom, months later, you are hit and devastated because you did not have that time to truly grieve. And so sometimes when affairs occur, we want to jump. We're so committed to the commitment. We jump right into the recovery process and let's go, 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 let's get it. And then boom, we're hit with something. So I would say you're not back at ground zero. You're not sliding back in a negative direction. And that success is not a straight line. And if you look at the stock market, how does it go? It goes like this, right? It goes like this. But the question is, what's the trajectory of that line? Is it going in a forward, upward pattern, or is it going down? If you're moving like this and you've plateaued and now you're panicking, just understand it's a marathon, not a sprint. And they're going to be dips. They're going to be setbacks. But setbacks are nothing more than setups for a comeback, Jeff.
And so I would suggest that you actually look up the Kubler-Ross grief cycle. Okay. When you see this, you're going to see that people go through this denial phase when they just kind of just don't accept it. Then they go through anger. Then they go through this bargaining phase with themselves where they're trying to figure everything out. Then you'll see depression and then acceptance. If they jump to acceptance and then go through the whole entire process, then they missed a few steps, and those feelings are bound to come up and surface and force them back through that cycle again. So Kubler-Ross, look at it so that you can be receptive to the fact of where she's at right now in her phases and figure that out, how you're going to figure that out by going back and just saying, hey, listen, like, first of all, the discovery process, I don't know where the counseling was done, but maybe the discovery process wasn't completed properly. Maybe she didn't ask all the questions because at that particular time, she didn't want to know. Maybe there needs to be another discovery process. And yes, it's going to be painful, but sometimes when you have surgery, you get out cancer. Cut out the cancer and you find out there's a little bit of residue left. Sometimes they got to go back in and operate just to keep the whole system running again. So just be willing to go through the process again if necessary, especially if she's now in the emotional state, because that pain surfacing, that pain and that confusion actually resurfacing can be the next step towards growth.
Guys, you've been watching Ask the Experts. What a phenomenal show. I hope that you got something that was transformational. I hope that you got a nugget that you will chew on, that you'll digest on, that you'll share with your partner. We come here 4 nights a week to give you what you need. And guess what? Please don't let it be easy and easy out. You know how you eat like Chinese food, which is phenomenal, but it doesn't have the nutritional value. And then in like 2 hours later, you're hungry again. Like, we're giving you some real food here, some steak and potatoes that will provide you the nourishment that you need to make your life and your relationship better. So what we want to do for those of you who are going through and are challenged in your life and in your relationship, we want you to reach out to us. All you have to simply do is go to the website. Go to the website at couplesacademy.org. set up a discovery call. 678-200-8996 is direct access to us, but set up a discovery call and let's talk through your situation. As you know, this weekend is our last chance weekend, which we're really excited about. The next one is going to be December 10th through the 12th, and already it is half full. And so, listen, don't let 2021 go by without the change and the transformation that you are looking for. It is not too late. Don't you realize that December is the busiest month in the year? Because this is the time where people are really contemplating, do I want this for the rest of my life or do I want something different? And so for them, new and different means divorce. But for others, new and different could be a last chance weekend, a private marriage intensive, because in that process, they're able to have something new and different with their spouse, not with someone else. And so, guys, thanks for tuning in tonight. Amazing job, Jeff, as always, as normal. And until, what's today? Today's Wednesday, right? All right, so we got one more day. Thursday night, we're coming to you again. And Jeff will be with me in person. We're going to be sitting right here at this table.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, so I'm excited about that. But guys, do me a favor, just share this with other people. Like, this stuff can't stay contained. Don't be selfish, right? Pay it forward. Just push it forward by sharing this video. Anyway, see you in the morning. We have another great topic to discuss with you. Take care. Have a good night. Deuces.